feel so bad for the kids that are 13, 14, 15, even the kids that are 17 and are going to these places. Because,
being fed,
how can you not be influenced?
You're being fed just something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. Well, Sushi just goes on YouTube, so he's good. Welcome back to the Interstate Podcast. I am your host, the Ancient One, Luke. And with me today, I have guest host Sushi. Sushi in the studio. And on the show today, we have a special guest by the name of Isaiah. Welcome, man.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
What do you think of the studio?
I think it looks amazing. It looks so incredibly professional. I have seen setups with people that are getting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views, and this looks better than all of those. Yeah, it's amazing.
We're coming for you, 100,000 view people. We're coming for you. So last week we were out in nature. We're back in the studio, and more of a traditional episode, but segments are always the same. And even though you're not a youth, so Isaiah is a former youth group student who is now just old, really.
This is true. I can't handle the wildlife. All you crazy kids going out there with your nature and your bugs. I can't deal, man. It's not okay.
What's the overlap? Do you remember? I don't know. I'm sorry. Don't take offense to this. Anyone, students watching, I don't remember anything. So were you guys in youth group together?
We had a little bit of crossover, but it wasn't much, especially since the pandemic shut us all down.
Yeah, I think you were doing like helping in the sound booth.
Yeah, so I would have been a student leader, which I don't know if you guys still have those.
No.
Okay, yeah. So I would have been a student leader. So basically halfway between a student and a leader, interestingly. And
That's crazy.
And there was a.
I feel like you've always been that way.
I try.
Biz's first year at Interstate, he was like half leader.
He's like, oh, I'm too old for this already, guys.
Yeah,
no.
What are those kids doing over there? Let's tighten this up a little bit.
Actually, the first year at Interstate, probably the first couple, 2-3 years, I was basically the opposite of that. I would eventually grow into that, but I would be a lot more condensed and just like withdrawing inward. I wouldn't speak unless someone approached me and talked to me. Like I was the stereotypical invert.
He's like, keep me away from those whippersnappers over there.
Sushi is an enigma. As far as introvert and extrovert, Sushi is the enigma.
I took a personality test.
We can't figure it out.
I took a personality test.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says, I am split 50-50. Exactly.
I told you.
It said 50% introverted and 50% extroverted. So it depends on my mood.
What do you think you are, Biz?
I think, so the way that I define, and from what I understand, like psychologists and stuff define introvert versus extrovert is, are you charged up by social situations or do they wear you down?
Yeah.
You can meet an extrovert, right, that is charged up by social interactions, but they are quiet and they don't talk much and they're just like, I don't know, just kind of whatever.
Yeah, it's true.
Or you can meet an introvert that is boisterous and loud and just awesome, but they can only be that way for so long because it's draining a battery.
Yeah.
And so I personally have learned how to be the latter. I used to be like withdrawn and it would drain me, but I've learned how to be confident and act out more. But even so, I need my alone time.
Yeah, that's a good balance.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the show. We have a segment in the show called How Was Tuesday? Now, you weren't at youth group. You haven't been at youth group in forever. So what do you do on a typical Tuesday? Your life after youth group as a young adult?
Life after youth group. Well, I will say this. There has not been a single Tuesday that has gone by since I graduated that I have not thought about youth group happening at that exact moment.
Nice.
Not a single one. I kid you not. Normally on a Tuesday, I will do a couple different things. One, I work, so I have to go to my job. Number two, I stay at home, and while everyone else is gone, I will make a box of mac and cheese because I can. And then I will get on my computer and I will start making music. So I've actually gotten real heavy into music production and taking the stuff that I think will appeal to a lot of people and then posting that onto YouTube. This is going to be a surprise to you because I haven't actually told you this, but I had a video from like 4 or 5 weeks ago that popped off, and right now it is at 50,000 views.
Yo.
And I was like, wow, why is this
Can we
stopping?
license that for the podcast? Can we use it for the
Podcast theme song?
That would be fun. You would probably get sued because it is not it's not an original song. It's what you would consider a remix. Exactly.
Oh,
and so I don't own the rights to that. And it's the covers, that type of stuff that I upload, because why would someone care if to click on a random video of an original song that I've made,
They
right?
wouldn't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'll put out the stuff that appeals to a lot of people, and if I ever need to use that leverage for my own personal projects, whatever, I have that. I have those views, I have those subscribers, whatever. My name is in people's minds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, your name's in my mind, like right now.
I would hope, because I'm on the podcast.
I've called you Biz like 5 times. Why? Your nickname is Biz. Where'd you get that nickname?
Yeah, I actually have no idea.
So I got the nickname when I was 12 or 13, before I moved here to Dixon. Got the name very early on, and at first I hated it because it started out, if you say the name Isaiah, but you've just woken up in the morning and you are a 40-year-old man, and you are very you're very tired, your vocal cords aren't warmed up. You don't say Isaiah. You say Isaiah.
Oh.
Right? You say it real gruffly.
Okay.
And from that, it translates into what eventually became Bizzizo. Bizizzo.
Wait.
I'm switching your nickname to Bizzizo. Are you kidding me?
That far?
Well, how did I not know this over all these years?
Isaiah to Bizzizo?
Isaiah to Bizzizo.
Bizzizo sounds like your rap name. Like your actual
Lil
producer.
Bizzizo in the house.
Lil Bizzizo.
Bizzizo, pump the beats.
Bizzizo.
That's
the name of the YouTube
So this is
channel.
the family nickname, Bizzizo, and then shortened to Biz.
Exactly. And because it was a family nickname, and I was a 12-year-old, I hated it. I was like, no, don't ever call me that. But I made some could call it a mistake, of telling Connor.
I love Connor.
And he was
Connor
like, I'm only going to call you Biz from now on. And it spread like wildfire.
Connor has the sway. He will sway everyone into his way.
So true.
He just, and not like in a manipulative way. He's just like, yeah, today I'm going to call you Biz forever. And then everyone's just doing it.
That's exactly how he would say it too, and that tone of voice and everything.
Yep.
Also, if you don't remember Connor, he was on the podcast a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
Watch the podcast.
Yeah, watch the Connor episode. Anytime that Connor is in the room, it's good. It's a good time.
It's a good time.
So that is awesome, Bizzizo. Wow. What is your? You were in youth group. What's like a really fond? Like you said, you think about it every Tuesday. What is the nostalgia for you? Like the most nostalgic callback, so to speak.
Interestingly, there is a lot of nostalgia, both for the good times, obviously, but also for some of the hard times, some of the bad times, some of the rough times that either I experienced in a moment at youth group, or the stuff that I was just generally going through at that period of my life. And so both of those come to mind. And what's the stereotypical answer, right? Everyone is going to say, I love summer camp, which is true. Summer camp rocks.
Summer camp's good.
But I would like to try to give you a more unique answer and say that Interstate was, I want to say, the first step on my journey towards, let's call it, self-acceptance. So so I would resonate a lot, right, with lines or people or characters that would express this, like, I don't like who I am, and I'm going to try to be a different person for other people that will make people like me. I was very much a people pleaser, and Interstate, just because Interstate as a culture is just so weird and so different that it is impossible to be something that fully matches that culture without being just so weird and out there.
That is well said.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a circumstance led to you being like, who am I going to be like? Everyone's themselves.
Exactly. And because everyone else was themselves, that was the culture, what could I be except myself?
Yeah. You know when that started to shine, at least looking from the outside in with you, is when you were playing piano at summer camp. We would go into the cafeteria. Biz would you're classically trained pianist, and he would just be playing these crazy pieces on this old upright piano at camp. And that's what you would do for like 30 minutes straight. You're just in the cafeteria because that's who you are. There's a piano, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I see piano, I must go.
Yeah.
That is how I am, and that's how I've been for so long. So when I moved to Dixon, I had to. It was far away from where I used to live, and so I had to stop seeing my old piano teacher. Who she was absolutely incredible.
What was her name?
Her name was Carol Kaywood, and I owe her so much.
Coming for you, Carol. Watch the podcast. Someone
Well,
send this to Carol right now.
That's the tough thing, because in 2019, she was in a fatal car accident.
Carol's family praying for you.
No.
That's so sad. How old was she?
She was in her, I believe she was in her late 60s.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
man.
that's
crazy.
Relatively early, and it was a hard thing. I count myself very fortunate that it didn't turn me off from piano entirely, because it very easly could have. Right, every time I go to a piano, I'm reminded of the memory, and it's just too painful. I just can't. Right, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me. And if anything, her death encouraged me and spurred me forward to not just continue along the path that she set me down, right, which was harder and harder classical pieces, but also to try to make stuff of my own, with, maybe not with a MIDI keyboard, but I can do that with a point and click mouse.
Sure.
And so that, in a way, that kind of spurred me and set me off on my journey to original compositions as well.
Nice. Are you working on any new classical pieces? Have you?
So I tell people that I am not nearly good enough to try to compose classical pieces, because especially the kind of stuff that I used to play, right? You have one instrument that's trying to tell so many different stories.
That's true.
And weave so many narratives, and it takes a lot of talent and skill, or your name has to be Mozart in order to do that with just one instrument.
Yeah, that's hard.
But if I have the bass doing its own thing, and I have the guitar up here doing this, and I maybe throw in a flute for good measure and a synthesizer, then I can have each instrument tell one story, and then just kind of weave those together. So it's a lot. I don't want to say it's easier, because I don't want to discredit the work of almost every musician that does that, but I find it to be a lot better with the way that my brain works.
Oh yeah, I see that. Could we could the listeners find your YouTube channel?
Good luck on that. I have searched my channel in an incognito private tab, whatever, and it won't show up. I have searched it word for word, and nothing. It is
50,000 views, and no one can find it.
No, it's all through the recommended stuff. No one's searching up whatever blah 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 song remix. It's all just the recommended feed, probably because they're watching similar songs already, and so no one can find my channel. It's so weird. I have a video that has 50,000 views, and it's like 150 subscribers. It's so weird.
That's weird.
I'll find it.
Sushi will find
Please.
it.
I am a professional finder of things on interwebs.
Yes, he is. That's his part-time job. He finds things. He's basically Google, but in human form.
I'm like
Sleuthy?
an internet PI.
Ask Jeeves? No. Ask Sushi.
Me.
I just call him. Sushi, find this on the internet for me.
Hey, I saw this video like last week. It had like a person maybe, and then I find it.
I find it. So Sushi has his own podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard it before.
I have heard of this podcast.
So apparently, the rumors are he is rebooting this to a higher production. So
I bought a microphone.
He's a guest host here, but he will be featured on his own podcast. So that might be a link that we can put in the description as well. You guys should check Sushi's podcast out. Get subscribed or whatever you have to do so you can see the new ones coming out.
Absolutely. Best of luck on that, man.
Thank you.
So you're not giving us your link?
I would if I could, but I don't exactly have it memorized.
Okay.
So, youtube.com/LC1Q4.
Out in the production people, we have a whole production team in the background.
Incredible.
Get on that. We'll find your channel.
I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into the next segment because I think it's going to be spicy for you. I have a couple more personal questions, and Sushi, you can get some personal questions too. But I want to do a general topic for us all, and it's through our talking point cards. So we have 3 categories for you to choose from. The card is already picked for each.
Okay.
Teens, family, Christian. You get to pick the category, and then I'll give you the card.
All right. I am turning 20 in a couple months, and so this is my last chance to say I'm gonna go teenager.
Teenager. Okay. Well, it is a
Just like-
podcast for teens.
Yeah.
This is
So
true.
that's why we leave it in even for our older
I like to relate to the audience.
our older guests. Here you go. You can read that out loud for us.
Thank you very much. Let's see. That's upside down. What do you think are the biggest differences between our generations? Interesting. Okay.
We'll have
All
to
right.
set some ground rules here. We have a lot of generations happening.
It's like
That is very true.
2.5.
Why don't we do like maybe my generation dipping down into the young adults and teenagers?
All right. All right.
What do you guys think? Wait, can you read that one more time?
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure. What do you think are the biggest differences between our generations?
Oh, okay.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking, right? I was born in 2003.
Hmm.
What does that mean? That means that the internet was not only already in existence, that means the internet was had a life of its own by that time. So there was not a time that I was alive where there hasn't been a pervasive internet culture. All right?
Yeah.
I was born before YouTube, but I wasn't conscious before
Did you
YouTube.
have dial-up? When you remember as a young person with doing the internet, what
I don't
was the
remember
internet
any
like?
dial-up whatsoever.
So it was just straight up broadband, clicking through websites.
Exactly. And
Oh,
I was put
wow.
on a computer from a young age. My typing speed is 152 words per minute. And
Okay, boast in the Lord.
and that well, that's just because I've grown up with a computer attached to my fingers. So I think that the biggest
That's
difference between our generations,
Uh-huh.
right, is that I am accustomed to rapidly changing the way that I express myself, right?
Okay.
It's well memed at this point that the internet culture just changes so fast, right? A meme rises up and it's seen by 50 million people, and a week later, no one remembers it.
And then 4 months later, I see it.
Exactly. and so we're entering this very strange time where culture on the internet is moving about as fast as it reasonably can. I don't think it can get much faster because it takes because the transition between information is instantaneous.
Right.
So it's just about when people see and consume it. So it's going about as fast as I think it can. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. And I am used to that. That's not going to change when I'm 30, when I'm 50, when I'm 70, right? And so our generation is going to be accustomed to this rapidly changing pace of the internet. So I think that,
Which
the
is a good
stereotype.
thing. You're saying all of this that's a good thing. Like
yes,
you
because
are,
right
okay.
now, right, 70-year-old, right, is like, I don't know how this internet works. I see I like the funny cat.
I don't know. Okay, listen, man. Listen. I'm going to stop you right there because I know some 70-year-olds. You 70-year-olds are on your phones a lot. Like they might not be on like
my grandmother.
YouTube or like Reddit, but they're on their phones like scrolling.
Well, no one should be on Reddit, so good for them. But
But I'm just saying, like, I think that's a stereotype that's not totally true. I think
it's going to become less and less true as we get older.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And eventually, I think if it's just text on the internet, you're not going to be able to tell if it was written by someone that's 70 or someone that's 7, maybe 7, or someone that's 20.
Or someone that's not real.
Yeah, that too. But but I think that because I'm used to things changing so fast,
You'll accept it.
exactly.
What do you
exactly.
think? What do you think, Sushi?
I think Biz is more Gen Z than I am. 'Cause
Wait, listen. You're Ask Jeeves. You know how to use the internet. You're changing.
I know how to use YouTube. Anything else, that's when the problem starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what's the difference then to you between like our generations, teenage to like my older self?
I don't know, man. I've played Minecraft with you, so
I'm not a good example of my generation.
neither is my father. My mom, maybe.
Maybe there's a lot less differences than we think. Maybe like
Yeah.
Biz was saying, I think between my generation and like a 70-year-old or like that echelon, I think there's a pretty big difference. But like I said, I think the internet is even quickening everybody who's alive. Like
Yeah.
Like the babies that know how to use the internet.
Babies-
Watch Cocomelon.
babies to elderly, they know how to scroll on their phones and look at things. They're on Facebook. They're on apps. They know how to do things. I mean, it's a different culture for everyone.
Absolutely. And I don't think we've even come close to seeing the rippling effects that will have
Mhm.
on real life, right? Because it used to be, right? You have your real life, and then you have your online persona, and those are and never the twain shall meet. But I think that's completely different now. People can can get to know each other so well, because it's not just AOL, right? You can video call, you can arguably VR stuff makes things even better. I don't think so, but there's so many ways to connect with someone that comes so close to what real life is that there's no longer this, well, I met you over a text-based forum and I liked who you were then, but you're a completely different person here. I don't like you. That's not really the case anymore. And so I think that we have yet to see the ways in which people acting, growing up, learning from the internet is going to affect real life. We've already seen it somewhat with people being just desperate for attention in this kind of weird way, they'll do anything for content and to get famous on TikTok, and they'll do some pretty terrible stuff in real life that harms real people because of it. And I think that's just the first of many things, good and bad, that are going to come as the result of everyone being connected to everyone at all times.
Yeah. We've been connected for a very long time via the internet. I think after COVID, things changed a little bit where people, I noticed it in the youth group and like just casually going to the park with my kids. I feel like people want real connection again. So more so, I mean, the internet stuff's always going to be there every day, but I think COVID was a wake-up call, and I think humans, at least now moving forward, are more likely to just chat it up out in real life. Like, come and hang out. Like, let's go hang out at our house because we can. And I don't know, I think that's good. I don't want to lose that.
It's definitely good. I would say that is true, and the opposite is also true, that people have been pushed more to the extremes.
Maybe.
The people that flourished during COVID and were like, my online space is where I want to live forever, they never leave their homes again.
Yeah.
And the people that are like, that was terrible, I never want to do that, they're going out all the time.
That's true.
And that goes back to the introvert-extrovert thing we were talking about earlier. And so I think it can be very, very dangerous for a lot of people that become hooked on it almost like a drug. And there used to be this idea, right, of these guys that are in their basement playing Halo while all of the girls are out shopping at the mall, right? But even that's changed, where it's like there are plenty of girls that also stay at home just like you, and you guys are never going to meet each other. And that is I don't know what that says as far as culture goes, or and meeting people or whatever.
It sounds like a population decline.
it certainly does. But it's no longer the cool edgy guys that are on this new thing called the internet. It's everyone's on there.
Yeah,
everyone's
true.
on there.
That's true.
And now you are literally connected to everyone. Not everyone that's using their device, which is only some people. Everyone.
Yeah. Well, I have something very related to ask you, Biz, and inquiring minds want to know because it's really hot right now. Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go, Biz. It's where the internet meets real life.
The Pokemon are everywhere. Biz.
Yeah, the Pokemon are everywhere. The people are everywhere. You can go meet new people out in the real world. Our production team, half of them are playing it right now. What do you think about?
True.
What do you think about the game? Actually,
attention.
let me back up.
All right.
Are you familiar with the Pokemon games? Did you play those? I don't know this about you.
I'm familiar with them. It's impossible to escape them, right? But I have never played a Pokemon game in my life.
Really?
And maybe it's the fact that it's not nostalgic for me. It's not a core piece of my childhood like, say, Mario is. I just don't care. Okay. I don't care to get into it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to all the people that unsubscribed right now. Please resubscribe back.
We don't have very many subscribers.
They're gonna not let me come back to this podcast. So you don't have to worry about that again.
Not everybody plays Pokemon, honestly.
Yeah. But I don't play it. I just never have. I see the benefits of it, right? Where it's forcing you to get out and to go out into the world, out into your neighborhood, to meet people, to exercise, all of that. Mm-hmm. But I do that stuff anyways, and you
have your own motivations.
Exactly. The core gameplay of that doesn't really appeal that much to me. Also, I think it's incredibly messed up that you're just capturing these creatures against your will. Like, that's wrong.
No,
that's
the humane.
The fun of it.
I mean,
no. That's what I
humane
enjoy.
element of Pokemon Go is actually kind of weird.
Hashtag cancel Pokemon.
Like, what? It is not okay. You're just like grabbing them, stuffing them in this tiny ball.
And then they
sure they
shake a
don't
little bit.
mind.
They're like, no, please let me
Yeah.
go.
What do you think, Sushi? You think it's humane to capture pocket monsters and keep them forever and make them fight for you?
Yes.
And that's why
That's-
you're going to be a world leader.
That's the only reason I play Pokemon Go.
Capture all of them.
I
don't
need
even-
them. I
just
don't
make
need them.
You make them fight and then faint and don't
I just
even heal
enjoy
them.
it.
That would be a good YouTube channel, the Inhumane Pokemon Go player or something. Just
That's-
mistreating Pokemon.
That's so fun. I love taking childhood stuff and pointing out the ways in which it's really messed up. Pokemon is the easiest one, but there's so many things that people are exposed to when they're just little kids. Like every single Mario game, Mario goes to a brand new place he's never been before and just beats up the native inhabitants of that world and kills them.
That
and
is
is like,
true.
Wahoo! Like, no, not Wahoo.
That's true, but they're bad guys. I mean, come on. It's good and evil.
I
they're
mean,
turtles.
I'm going to show out.
Turtles are terrible creatures. What's the worst animal in the animal kingdom?
We have already had a question like this, and I could not answer.
Sushi loves all animals, hates Pokemon. Wants to capture and kill
like
all Pokemon.
that guy.
I think that the worst animal is whichever one kills the most humans, and that's probably by spreading disease. So
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be a lot of bugs, a lot of mosquitoes,
Birds.
birds definitely. If I had to get rid of one, however, I would probably say wasps.
Yeah, nobody likes
Okay,
wasps.
Actually,
Nobody likes
I've thought of
wasps,
something.
and some people love bees, and I respect that. I'm not one of you. I'm sorry, but wasps. I think everyone would be pretty
Gotta go.
cool if we
Well,
just yeah.
Wasps do almost as much pollinating as bees do.
I was gonna say this is the part where
Yeah.
someone comments and is like,
Teach us-
actually
teach
wasps
us,
are
Sushi.
integral to our society.
Teach us.
It's like my sophomore year, and my teacher did these like warm up questions. They're like philosophy questions. He's like, "Would you get rid of wasps if you could?" And then the smart kid's like, "Oh, blah 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 blah." He was kind of mean, but that's besides the point. I actually called him out because he's like, "Wasps don't have any uses," and I go, "Actually," and I explained it. He goes, "Oh yeah, well you're an idiot." I was like, "Eh." I don't really
no,
care.
you're not an idiot, Sushi.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were so in love with the insect culture.
I have thought of an animal that I dislike. There's one specific cat.
Uh-huh.
His name is Bill.
In town.
Yeah,
The
he's a
Dixon
stray
cat.
Yeah, I don't like that guy.
There's a lot of stray animals in Dixon.
Yeah, but most of stray animals aren't like. I didn't
Mean.
know cats could growl.
Yeah, Bill will bite you. Really. Bill's got a reputation.
You actually dropped me off at the place where I met Bill.
Really?
Yeah,
Did he bite you?
he tried. I may or may not have tried kicking him after that.
Have you guys ever got bit by an animal of any kind?
I have
No
dogs.
bugs. No bugs.
I have dogs.
You got bit by a dog?
Yeah, not like a serious bite.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
Playful.
me getting a little rough with my dog. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like that. Yeah.
You
I
got
got-
bit by a dog? Break the skin?
No. No.
Okay. Through the clothes, probably.
Yeah.
It still
I've gotten
hurt.
clawed before. I've gotten clawed, and that's broke the skin and your
Cat
blood streaming
claws.
down.
Oh, man.
This dude was trying to train his dog by walking him down at the park.
Yeah.
And he obviously wasn't doing a very good job because I was longboarding past.
Oh, no.
And it started chasing me, you know, to like save energy. I just like stopped.
You gave up.
Yeah. I don't really care.
You just laid down. I'm ready
No,
to
I was
go
just
to the
standing
Lord.
I thought the dog was going to be my friend. And then he goes, Trump.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What kind of dog? What kind of dog are you talking?
Think it was
Chihuahua.
pit bull mix. It was
Okay,
not a
okay.
chihuahua. I have been bitten by a chihuahua.
Chihuahuas will bite you, man. They're
I
vicious.
own one.
They are
He got no
scary.
teeth though. So
Very true. Well, I mean, at this point, I have to ask the question of every single male podcast ever: could you take a wolf?
No.
I
No.
want to be his friend.
If you guys didn't watch the Hanu podcast last week,
What's the biggest animal you could kill?
watch that back. We have a long running, and it's just theoretical, people. So all our animal lovers out there, it's just theoretical.
Absolutely.
What animal could you kill? That's a long time guy youth group question.
Always.
And the answer to the wolf question is absolutely not.
I would train
I think I
him.
could take a wolf. I've seen how big wolves are, not in person, but I've seen
Single wolf.
scales. But yeah, I could take a single wolf.
I think you could kill a single adolescent wolf,
Adolescent.
like just past
Like-
puppy stage.
Oh, so like
Yeah, what's 19 in dog years? I'll just go for that.
I would want to be. I would train the wolf,
Mm.
especially if it's like just past adolescence, where you can still probably get some decent training in.
I don't know, man. They're wild
Mhm.
in them. I don't know if you can train that out of.
I mean, we
Wild
got
animals are crazy. There's a reason why they're not pets.
Yeah, but like, if a Chihuahua can come from like a long line of dogs that were once wolves,
Yeah.
I'm sure I would be able to.
Yeah, you could probably break the mold.
Exactly.
Don't see a lot of wolf pets. If you could, you're old, let's say you're older, got your own place,
Right.
your own family even. Are you going to be a pet owner?
I think it's tough because at this stage, I'm like, I look at how much work that is, and I'm like, if I don't want to do that now, if I'm working an 8-hour job, and that I would absolutely not want to deal with that. But I could see myself. I am much more of a dog person. However, I am more of an animal person than I am a dog person, which means yes, I would prefer a dog, but a cat is a lot less work, and I would be okay with a cat.
Yeah, cats are chill. What about you, Sushi? You owning
Yes.
100%?
I love my dogs so much.
No cats, though?
I mean, I wouldn't mind a cat.
You could train up a cat to fight Bill.
I can fight Bill. I don't want to get my pets involved in this. My
You could
non-existent
do the
pets.
dirty work.
Yeah.
You don't train a cat. You sign a contract with the cat that
Yeah.
is mutually binding.
The
That
cat's
is
like,
true.
you feed me,
I might help you.
I might not harass you all day, every day. But there is a good chance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have a really interesting question, and maybe, Sushi, you can get one on deck that you'd want to ask Biz. But
Right.
so Isaiah and I go to church together. He has served in our church in town here for many years, faithfully as a sound person or whatever really needs to happen.
Pretty much.
I want to ask you, flash forward again. We're kind of playing the game of you're a little bit older in the next phase of life.
Sure, I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah, it's that kind of that phase you're in right now. You're older, you're in an established church. This is going to be your home church as far as you can see forever. Where are you plugging in? Where do you see yourself serving? Because I feel like up until now, you have just been faithfully doing whatever I tell you to do. If we need something, you're just like, I'll just do that then. But
That
where
is true.
where do you feel like the Lord would lead you into service, like more of a long term?
I think that there is a time that I considered trying to go for a sort of teaching or pastoral role, and while I think I could do that if I put my mind to it, I don't think that's where I'm being led. I think that it is a lot of times, right? There's so many famous biblical examples of God using people in ways that they aren't naturally good at.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people forget that there are a lot of times where God uses people in the way that they were naturally good at
Totally.
because he made them for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, I think that being a part of the music team, whether that's back in the sound booth or up there on the stage, I think that is the place that I'm called to be and the way that I can make the biggest difference, right? Because I could absolutely, right, sign up for cleaning the toilets every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I totally could do that. And I would do that if I was called to do it. But there's a lot less people that could play piano at church than could clean the toilets.
That's true.
And so if I'm called to do the toilets, I will. But the way that I can make more of a difference and be more helpful to the church as a whole is through music.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe just make your own music and serve the church as a whole, like as a bigger whole.
That is also something that I've thought
Yeah.
about. Like trying to come up with, use my knowledge to come up with new and creative ways.
Yeah.
So we're not just playing the same old songs, but maybe I discover on the electric keyboard there's this really cool synth that sweeps across everything
Yeah.
and will overlay your guitar and something like that.
Yeah. What about you, Sushi? What do you see yourself doing? I don't know if I've ever asked you this.
I don't think you have.
What do you do now? Do you serve at Living Hope?
I used to do kids church a lot more,
Uh-huh.
and then I started getting scheduled to do the camera work for like recording the sermon.
Ah.
So a
that-
lot of the time I'm just sitting in the back room
Tech.
hoping the cameras work.
Which fits in
Yeah.
nicely with this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is similar to that
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. So what would you do if you were, what could you see yourself doing?
I really like doing kids church. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because most of the time I'll get put with like the younger kids because I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just fit in better with them.
Yeah.
And I always enjoyed myself there.
Dude, the teen ministry.
I would definitely
Always
do
needs
that.
help.
Yep.
Special people need to do the teen ministry, though. We need a lot of people we need a lot of men doing the little kids church. It's epic.
Mhm.
Like if a man's in there doing little kid church, it makes a huge difference. Little kids
Absolutely.
just respond differently, and it helps make it more well-rounded.
Mhm.
It's rare. You don't see a lot of men doing that, which is good.
Yeah, that's my current job, right? I work with kids that are about 4 to 8 years old. I don't touch the older ages because it wears on me, man. I'm waiting. I'm so sorry. But
Production team looks like they want to kill you right now.
which that's your choice, and I respect that. However, I want to wait. I would love to help out the teenagers or the almost teens, but I feel like it's better to wait until I am a little bit more removed
Maybe
from that stage of life,
I see
because when I see the stuff that they go through, and they go through a lot of stuff, I am immediately taken back to what have been thus far some of the worst times of my life, and I don't want to live in that headspace. And so
Yeah, I get that.
just like with the toilets, right? If I'm called to do that right now,
Yeah.
yes, Lord, I will. But please, Lord, send Aaron, my brother.
Honestly, that's one thing I respect about you. You're doing your own thing after youth group, and it's because you're supposed to. And you're not all are called to come back and serve in that capacity. So
I thought I would.
it's a sign. Yeah, me too. I honestly did too. I know you really appreciate the youth group, and it's a sign of maturity to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, not what you want to do. Even if you wanted to do it, or didn't want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
what you should be doing is important. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Do you have any questions for Isaiah? It's great to
No.
have an alumni on. We could dig up some stuff.
That is true. I have so many stories, a lot more than this podcast could hold in one episode.
Yeah.
But I have so many stories of crazy time stuff that I think some of which you don't even know. There's a
don't.
lot of stuff that
I
you weren't
probably
there
don't.
for.
All right. So one of our guests a few weeks back is your brother, Laser.
True.
I know him. Yes.
Yeah. So I know that he's ahead in school
Mm-hmm.
by a bit. Were you ahead in school? Because I actually just do not know this.
That is the most leading question I've ever heard.
Biz got his high school diploma when he was 4 years old.
So, add an 8 to that number. So I got my high school diploma or
8?
high school equivalent when I was 12. 4 plus 8.
Oh,
When I was 12.
He learned that when he was 2.
And
that's
Math
impressive.
joke.
so the way I did that was I would never take summer break, and so I would basically be going through a grade and a half every grade.
Right.
So so that added up over the years,
So it really
then-
wasn't even a sign of intelligence. It was a sign of efficiency.
and that's what I tell people. I tell people there's nothing that I've done that you can't do either. People look at the accomplishment on paper and they're like, "Wow, you must be some sort of incredible genius." I'm like, "No, I live in here. I'm not a genius.
Just
I was just given a very advantageous situation.
Nice.
on
I
the
took advantage
grind.
of it, And I don't think there's anything that I've done that other people that pretty much anyone else could do, couldn't do. And so I got my diploma because I tested out of 11th and 12th grade. So I just skipped those last two entirely, and then immediately entered into college, starting right when I was 13. And so by
That's
the
young.
time that I first
young
met you
for
guys,
college.
Yeah.
yeah, it says by the
You were
time
a
I
youth
first met
group
you guys,
student in college.
yeah, and hopefully I'll be the only one.
Well, your brother a little bit. Un poquito.
That's true. I what I mean by that is that it's so hard to be a college student in youth group, even if you're youth group age,
Yeah,
because there's so
yes.
much. It's so much harder to relate to people.
Yeah.
If a Buckingham student talks to a Dixon High student, it's like, all right, we go to different schools, we know different
friends,
people,
same
but we're
drama.
still
Yeah.
the same, right?
Yeah,
But I can't relate to anyone my age.
that's
It's
true.
and it was so that alone made it so much harder to come out of the
Yeah.
social circle, because I didn't want to say, well, this is what I am, because it sounds like
Yeah.
bragging. And I didn't want to, I didn't want to try to relate with someone that I just couldn't, right? There's no connection there. And so I ended up gravitating towards the people that were closer to a stage of life than I was, the people that have already graduated high school, the people that were in the young adult groups, right?
Right,
I
yeah.
would be a part of those.
But you're still cognitively a teenager. Going
Exactly,
through
going
teenage
through the
things.
same
Going
stuff.
through the same things, but just really in a different location.
100%.
Mhm.
And there's this and the being a teenager in high school, yes, there's a lot of tough things about it. There's also a lot of great things about it that you don't realize until you're not a part of that either.
Mhm.
And the easy access, if you go to a physical school, assuming you're not homeschooled, the easy access to so many people that have to be there. It is so much easier to make friends, to make any kind of
Yeah.
personal connection, because everyone there has to be there. And so there's no way that you can't be forced to interact with someone. And a lot of times when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, it's those forced interactions that eventually become great friendships and what have you.
Mhm.
So it's so much harder to meet people
College is-
and all of that in college, in
College
the adult
is
life.
hard. Older teenagers listening, college is hard. It's like you have two options to meet people. You really need to be careful with that, because the social interactions and out of your home college is very, they're just not necessarily what you want to be doing for school wise and to meet people. So it gets harder. And then when you get out of college, it's even harder to make friends. You have to really church. I mean, that's why church is so good.
Mhm.
Like, church is the great equalizer. And if churches were full, it'd be a lot less of that. Like,
100%. It's even harder than being in college, being a Christian in college.
yeah, that's what I
Oh
was.
man, they hate you.
That's what
I've
I
had
was-
people tell me to my face that they wanted me dead, and they weren't. It wasn't someone that with a knife that wanted to kill me. It was someone that I just disagreed with over an ideological issue, and it's just everyone's so
It's a rough
extreme
climate
in college.
we're in right
It's
now.
so
Yeah.
extreme, and there's so much stuff that you're forced not by your peers, but by the administration up top, that you're forced to do and you're forced to interact with, that is just at its core, it is fundamentally against God. I won't go here into the stories of some of the specific classes, but I've seen some stuff that I'm like, I'm pretty sure that that's illegal, and you're saying that's good. That's good. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
and and if you want an A in the class, you have to keep your mouth shut and just go through with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get a bad grade on your paper.
Mm.
And it's just college in a lot of ways. It taught me a lot of things. College taught me how to be invisible, how to hide myself. Whereas interstate taught me the opposite, how to not do that. And so both are very valuable skills to know.
Yeah. But I feel like Jesus would argue with that. Yeah.
That's something that I not only debated internally, but also talked about with other people at the time. And that was, Jesus went through, Jesus didn't try to conform to the image of the world, right?
Right.
But the place that I arrived at and where I didn't feel convicted at all
Sure.
was what can I do to get them? Why am I going to college, right? I'm not going to college because I want to go to college. I'm going to college because I want a degree 2 years later and I want to get a job 4 years later.
Right.
And the entire reason I'm going to college is forward looking. And so why would I hide myself in college? Well, I'd hide myself in college so that I can do well in college so that I am better equipped to serve the Lord later down the line. And so I would be less effective and be doing less good for the kingdom by taking this strong stand and no, all of this is wrong.
Yeah.
Doing that whole thing. First of all, I think it would really just only make people mad at me. There might be a couple people that think about things, but most of the time, if you encounter resistance when you're that age, it's just, we'll get out of my life then.
Yeah, I think, that's true. Jesus didn't go to very secular places to judge. He went, but he didn't make himself invisible either. I think that's the word that hung up. Yeah, it's a tough one. He did. I mean, Jesus was more outspoken in places of worship, really. That was his biggest gripe with the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. Navigating it well, and trying not to ruffle too many feathers for the end goal.
Exactly. And we've talked many, many times in the past about essentially the same places of worship discussion where we'll talk about churches or we'll talk about pastors or something and be like, well, I don't really agree with his decision on this or his stance on this. And I think that is much more equivalent where it's talking about these places where God is and where God is supposed to be and where everyone there should be there for the same reason and saying, okay, well, is this good? Is this right? Because I know the world's messed up, but do we have a solid center? And I think that's a very important discussion to have.
Yeah. Sushi, you ever think about, you're about to graduate, enter the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a guess that you'll be surrounded with secular people.
Yeah.
How do you plan on navigating that? Or have you thought about it much?
Not particularly. No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Because I feel like, here's the other thing too, Biz, you can correct me, but I feel like you are a special person that's very firm in your faith at a young age. What's happening to most college students, they go in and be invisible, so to speak, to play the game, but then they come out the other side changed. Because, I don't know, there's something that I think happens where if you're not battling back, and not necessarily verbally, like argumentatively, but like with your faith strongly,
right,
you're absorbing. I don't know. The statistics are staggering. It's like 70% plus go to college and lose their faith or something. Like
it's very dangerous because they're so good, right? They're so good at making it seem like this is the thing that makes sense, and we're actually saving you, we're pulling you out of these crazy people that you've been born into, and like all that stuff. And they're so good at it.
Yeah, well,
and it's just so terrible.
What would you say to a teenager watching this that's about to enter that either the workforce or college? What would you tell them to be prepared for? Like, I guess it's better to be prepared for that than to just go in blind and be like, well, I don't want to ruffle feathers and I'll come out fine. And then you come out later, lost your faith, and you're mixed up in all these things.
I would say this: communication is key. Why? Because you're going to have ideas thrown at you, and you're going to have ideas of your own that are challenged. And a lot of the time, these people that are throwing these things at you, these bad ideas, they have more experience than you. They've thought about them longer than you. And so what they're saying, they're able to phrase it in a way that makes a lot of sense. So what do? Well, you go to the people that are that, but on the other side, you say, hey, my professor was giving me this idea, and he was saying that evolution makes perfect sense because of this. What do you think about that? And you ask these people that are stronger than you in the faith, that are rooted more deeply, that have more knowledge, more experience, and you fight fire with fire. And so if you hold on to it, and if you say, well, I'm not only going to not ruffle any feathers at college, I don't want to ruffle any feathers at church. I don't want to be the one that's bringing in these new weird concepts. Well, then you're really in a tough spot, because you're getting input, and you're not getting any input from the Christian people in your life. And so what do? You listen to the source that feeds you. And so the way to combat that is talk to your pastor, talk to your youth leader, talk to the people that you trust in the faith to give you the counterbalance that you need.
That's really good. That's well said.
Thank you.
That's honestly, teenagers could be putting that into practice right now, like stuff that's happening in public schools, stuff that's happening in your workforce if you're working already. Like instead of like internalizing them or being even just pro or con, like chat with someone about it, like bring it up. That would solve a lot of problems. It is the quietness, the holding of it that I think the enemy runs wild with, because like you said, you really have to fight it with truth.
And so many kids, so many teenagers are being exposed to this earlier and earlier because they're getting on places like Reddit, they're getting on places like Discord, where not only are those anti-Christian ideals accepted, they're celebrated. There's these strong, passionate bases of people who hate God, maybe because they had a bad experience with Christianity at some point, and they will be aggressive about it. They will be hateful about it. And a lot of times it's, well, I don't want people to attack me and insult me. I don't want people to try to dox me. So I'm just going to blend in with them. And when you're still developing, when you're on these dangerous dark corners of the internet that, let's be honest, aren't corners, it's the majority.
Yeah.
You're going to go through that same college experience at a time when you're definitely not ready to handle it.
That's true.
It's so dangerous and so scary. And I'm lucky that my parents kept me away from that stuff when I was still growing, when I was still developing. And I feel so bad for the kids that are 13, 14, 15, even the kids that are 17 and are going to these places. Because
being fed,
how can you not be influenced?
You're being fed just something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. Well, Sushi just goes on YouTube, so he's good. He only goes on one website.
If you look at my app history, YouTube's just
the thing
at the top. Like, it's like, oh, you went on messages for like 20 minutes. But YouTube,
6 hours.
Sushi's like, bro, I learned the secrets, man. I know how to code. I'm a hacker and stuff. Have you heard of Boolean search?
I don't know what that means.
That's even better.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the favorite segment of the show. I'm super excited to ask you this last question because
all right,
you are not our typical. We haven't had a lot of alumni. We've had some leaders and some students that have become leaders. But yeah, I think you're one of our first alumni just back to report. So I'm really interested to what you say.
All right.
The last segment is, who would be your ideal guest for this podcast?
Except Mr. Beast.
And anyone on the planet living but Mr. Beast. We cannot have Mr. Beast. Stop calling us. You can't be on the show, Mr. Beast.
We're going to get sued.
It's so bad. He's not calling us.
That'd be funny to keep up that bit for the entirety of the podcast.
I think we have to.
Every time it's like, man, Mr. Beast called yesterday, and this time he was like, I'll give you $50,000 if you just...
I will literally promote your youth group in town.
Oh, get that out of here.
All right, Biz, who are you having in this seat? Anyone. Sky's the limit, man.
All right. So if sky's the limit, then I'm going to say, I think who would be basically all the alumni and all of that you've talked about, the experiences and perspective that I have, but turned up to 11, I think, and this is the meme answer, but I'm serious about this, Chris Pratt.
Dude. Chris Pratt. Listen, Chris, comment down below and let us know, because we will let you on the show.
At real Chris Pratt 96. I see you.
Just don't watch the video where we were talking about your voice acting skills.
No, here's the thing. If Chris Pratt is sitting right here, 50% of the show is just us trying to do his voice, like back and forth. And that's it.
That would be so amazing. But
why do you say that? Yeah, why?
So the reason that I say Chris Pratt is because he has said, right? He says, I'm a Christian, and unless I see evidence to the contrary, I'll believe him on that. He said, I'm a Christian, and he's in probably one of the most anti-God establishments in the world. And
Mario
how do you...
movie.
First of all, I mean, like, what would his experiences be going through that? And secondly, how do you keep your faith? How do you maintain your faith in that dark of a place.
Yeah.
It's so insidious. When I remember when Matt Johnson was talking about going to India, and he was saying like he could see the influence of demonic activities right there, right in front of his face. Well, it's not really like that in Hollywood. It's not like that in America as a whole, largely because they work in a lot more subtle ways, because that's what works better on the Western people. And so it's this. It's not evil that's in your face. It's this insidious underlying evil that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how I would deal with that.
Right.
So, like,
It'd be
massive
good
respect to
perspective.
him.
Yeah.
Massive respect to him for saying that, and for, you know, being not afraid to be that. And Hollywood either insults him for it or straight up ignores it. Like, they never talk about that in interviews.
Yeah.
Why would they? And so I would love to get his perspective and his experiences by being in Hollywood and being such a famous secular person who also professes Christ.
Right.
Like, that is, so you never see that anymore.
Yeah. What do you think, Sushi? Would he be a good guest?
I think he would be.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a good lesson to remember that people professing Christ is a really serious thing. And we as Christians always win by just saying, yeah, they're Christian. Like, I hope the best. We will see them someday in glory.
Mm-hmm.
We get in trouble when we're like, no, it can't be. I heard Chris Pratt cuss one time, so he's obviously a Satanist. Like, he's not Christian. Like, it's so crazy how we judge so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be really cool to get a celebrity and then hear him talk. I don't think he'd be any different than what you would see.
I
but
agree.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. So, Chris, hit us up. We'll get you in here. I know that he comes to the West Coast a lot.
This is true.
He could be here. Who knows?
This is true. I know we the Interstate gets a lot of emails, and so you might get buried. We'll have to check our spam. But
We'll check our spam folder for Chris's manager.
It's all just Mr. Beast in there.
Yeah, it's just Mr. Beast.
He's like, please,
Guys,
let me
I'm
on.
serious. I have $1 million to give
I
you.
will upgrade your entire podcast setup. Just let me on.
Oh my gosh. If Mr. Beast, one exception, if he was on the show, I would make him float in my pool for 2 days straight. On a
I'm sure
floaty.
he would.
Yeah, he couldn't get off the floaty.
No, I'm sure he would do that.
Yeah. Then the third day he could be on the podcast.
ooh, I like the
2 days
analogy.
straight floating at night too.
He buried himself alive for 50 hours.
Yeah,
I'm
I think it'd
sure.
be like 2 days. That'd be all right
2
if you
days
want
on
to
a
make
pool
it easy.
floaty. It's amazing. All right, we'll make it in January.
Oh,
Ooh, it's like 50 instead of 90.
Please no.
Well, I think that's going to do it.
All right.
Biz, thank you so much for giving us your time and vulnerability and just being on the show. You did great.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy that you guys have had me. It's such an awesome thing to be able to share these experiences that many of the things that I've said, I've talked about the stuff that I went through right during my time at Interstate. So much of that I didn't realize until after I left.
Yeah.
It can be so hard to realize what's going on in the moment, and you're seeing the tree but you don't see the forest. But now that I'm out of the forest, I can look back and be like, there was a lot of oaks over there.
Yeah. And I can say, just as a leader that saw you through youth group, you were one of those kids like Connor that just were iconic, not just by your character and demeanor, but like you were very humble, and you did youth group well. Isaiah and I spent a lot of time sorting through teenage stuff, so let that be a lesson to you guys. Find a good leader, and be vulnerable with them, and it's just a good thing. It's just what we're here to do. So
thank you, man. Comparing me to Connor is the highest honor you could ever get.
Yeah. Connor's a special guy. You're a special guy. That's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you all next week. See
Bye.
ya.